Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Dragon Actuals. As you can see, today's video is related to the art and power of decision making. The reason I'm making this video is I think I have received multiple questions over LinkedIn, sometimes which is very common question, and frankly, this problem or this issue of not making decision or inability to take decision has not occurred with me in my life. I believe that I am a very good decision taker and I can take decision. Probably one of the reason is I've been staying on my own since I'm 3 years old. So I have taken a lot of decisions. I have seen difficult life, and probably that is one of the reason. But I think I do understand that it is something that does not come naturally to people, especially people who are, because I am staying in north part of India, Delhi NCR. Here I think there is a serious lack of decision making, and I know the psychological reason for that as well. So we'll discuss all of that. And also I am receiving couple of queries about the seminar, when I'll be conducting the seminar. So yeah, obviously when I'm conducting a seminar I will require some other speakers as well, right, to be in the seminar. So I am hoping to have that seminar on maybe the third week of Jan, right? And also I need to book a hotel or place, etc. So it will be there. It will be, if not in Jan, maybe in Feb. But between Jan and Feb, it will be done. Once I have said I will do something, I will definitely go ahead and do it. It's just a matter of time. I also have to kind of balance my work life along with that seminar. So I understand that I have spoken about conducting that seminar on December mid, but it's not happening in December because like the people I want to have in that seminar, they are usually in vacation, traveling, spending time with their family. So I hope that yeah, it will be done in Jan, right? I don't want to have too many speakers, maybe one more or another person, maybe two or three, because I think more too many people just does not help the cause. But I think yeah, maybe one or two people they can add perspective, right? So, moving on to the current topic, the art or the power of decision making. Frankly, I believe that decision making is the second most important, you know, thing in our life. The first most important is obviously whom you said I love you to, right? That is the most important decision, your partner. But other than that, I think, and also I think that is also a decision making process. So I believe other than that, or maybe including that, decision making is probably the second most or the most important part of your life, as people say that human beings are sum total of their decisions. So why what is the background of this? So the background of this is because of these questions that I received in LinkedIn or maybe in other forum as well. Should I do actually as I'm a commerce student? So one of the very common questions that I get, right? How much do a fresher get paid, right? Another very common question: how much I get if I clear three papers, four papers of actuary? Very common question, right? Is taking a break in career okay? And this is something I think many experienced person has asked me in my LinkedIn, especially females. This is a question from them. I'm taking a break. I was not able to concentrate on my study. I had a miscarriage, etc., etc. Is taking a break okay, right? Second is how much do a fellow actually earn, right? That is also because I'm closer to qualification. That is also one of the questions that I get, right? And based on this question, I made that entire video where I gave designation wise salaries. If you have not seen that video, you can go and see that video. That is the most highest watched video in my channel. People are, I don't know why people are so much interested in salaries, but they are, right? So these are very common question. I think if you are seeing this video, probably you know that this is one of the questions probably have hit you, right? And the reason I'm making this video is why are you not answering this question yourself? Because you can yourself answer this question. Yeah, sometime you might require some validation from someone. For example, how much do a fresher get paid, right? Sometime you might have an idea, but you need a validation from someone who has just got a job as a fresher. But obviously, these are questions that you should be able to answer yourself. Should I do actually as I'm a commerce student? I think this is something that you can answer yourself. You need not ask anyone else, right? And there are many people who charge money for that, right? I commonly joke with my friends that if I get paid for for every question that I get in LinkedIn, I'll be a crorepati by end of this year. Not that I'll not be a crorepati by end of this year, but I think I'll be double crorepati, just joking. So I think all these questions, taking a break in career is okay. I think all these questions can be answered by you yourself, right? You can just think over it. You can just consider all the situations, and you can come to the clear cut answer what you should do. And I think that is the purpose of this presentation. Few of the personal questions that I've got from my few of my friends are something like who to marry, when to have kids, right? There are many people that I know who are not interested in marriage, but they have married just because of peer pressure, societal pressure, etc. After they have got married, they are not interested in having kids, and they still have got kids because they have seen Facebook photos of kids and going to family, etc., etc. So just because others have done it, they have also done it, and that is most incorrect way of making a decision. So and they also kind of tell me that you are single, you are living your life happily, and then I chose to be, right. I am very clear that until and unless I genuinely love someone, I will not get married to that person, because I'm not incomplete that someone would come and make my life complete, which is the usual Bollywood Hindi movie dialogues. But I'm not like that. I genuinely don't believe that there is a need to marry in this society in today's world. And however, if my life gets better because I am staying with someone, then obviously why not, right? But I mean, it's just thinking that sometime in life you have to marry, that is a wrong process and wrong, you know I think wrong decision. People are kind of forcing upon themselves, and that's why the number of divorce and the ugly separation has increased so much. That is not it's matter of, especially in India, it's matter of two families, two people, not between two people but two families would collide, would clash. Especially in the northern side, there is dowry involved. All of those things, it was just get ugly, right? So I think if someone has taken a correct decision, then lot of lives, not only his or her, but I think lot of lives will be saved, just because if someone take a right decision. And if someone has taken an incorrect decision, many people life would be will be jeopardized. And as I say that most people shatter millions of dreams before they shatter their own, just because of one incorrect decision, right? I recently I shared about yeah, in LinkedIn about the Facebook employees. There are many people. So in Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg has a vision of creating a virtual platform which he is calling Meta, and Facebook shares has crumbled. There are many people who has left Facebook, but Mark has kind of being stubborn on his vision. Best performers have left, and they have. Done so many bad word of mouth, bad negative publicity for the company. The Facebook shares have crumbled, but still, Matt is kind of, Mark is, sorry, not Matt. Mark is kind of very adamant on going ahead with Meta. Now, that is something where you need to draw a line, right? If your employees are angry, if the best performers are leaving the organization, you have built Facebook based on those employees, based on the abilities of those employees, and you can't survive if your best performer leave the organization, right? Especially when you are trying to create something new. So that is where if one wrong decision and millions of dreams are shattered, because obviously those people would also have loved working in Facebook, right? We have seen several posts in LinkedIn about Google, about Facebook being the best workplace, but Google has fired employees in the recent time. Facebook has obviously people has left Facebook. Facebook also was forced to fire employees. There are many such incidents, right? There are many such stories in social media. So just because one wrong decision, look how many lives are impacted, right? So that's why decision making is so important. And in the course of this presentation, I hope that you will be able to understand and learn how to make proper decisions. Okay, so moving on, why we lack decision making power, right? And this is where the actual part of the statistical part comes into picture. So when you are born as kids, we are somewhere. So this is a normal curve. I think any statistical or any maths enthusiast would understand this, right? This is also called the bell curve. Majority of the population lies here, which is this represented by 68.26. That's why there is a hump, right? But then as you grow on the side, these are the areas where outliers lies, right? So when we are just born, we lie somewhere here, right? We don't have any knowledge, any understanding of the world, etc. We don't even understand the language, right? So we can only emote and we can only make gestures, but we cannot communicate, right? So that's why when we are here, we need to copy others. because otherwise we'll not reach this average level or the medium level where most of the people lies, right? So between our age from 1 to 18, we are moving from here to here, where this hump is, right? The average, where we first we need to become average. That's why we go to school for education. That's why we do some basic physical exercises, etc., etc., so that we become average, right? From there, only very few people can leave the average mentality, right? Because from here, from this 0.4%, 0.14% to maybe to this line, people are copying others. But when you want to be exceptional, when you want to stand out from the herd, right, then you have to do something which the others are not doing, right? You have to take other risk, you have to explore other path. But even then you are following the what average people are doing, and that's why there is a problem. That's why you marry when you don't want to marry. That's why you have kids when you don't want to have kids, right? That's why probably you switch a job when you don't need to switch a job. So you are just doing that from FOMO, from peer pressure, etc., etc., right? So initially first 18 years we spent just by copying others, right? That's the essence of those 18 years. That's why you are not adult, right? But after 18 years you should have the decision making ability, should have the decision making skill. But because we are so habituated in copying someone that we are not able to make those decisions, we are still copying other person, and in turn we will stay average. And that's why because most of the people in the world stay average, there is a hump, right? And that's why there is 68.26% would lie in this zone only. They would not be able to move from that zone. There will be few people who would be moving out, maybe Ambani, Adani, right, Elon Musk, right? These are the people who has not followed the herd, right? They have thought about something, they have worked on that dream, and they have moved out from the average person, right? And the funny thing about average person is, like, most of the people will tell you that don't do this because I have done this and that's why I have failed, so you should not do this, right? So average people will also try to pull you to become average, right? That's the basis. And you will also think that majority lies here, majority is saying same thing, right? So why should I take the risk, right? And but the problem is, if you don't take the risk, you will not be lying in the exceptional zone, right? You will never reach here, where only 1% or maybe less than that of the 0.14% of the entire world lies, right? Based on this diagram. So life is also like a normal diagram. You start from here, then most of the people stop here, but very few people actually move to this direction, right? And because we are so uh, you know habituated in copying others, that we kind of uh, we do not we lack the decision making power. We only have the copying power, right? So we lack the decision making power, and we stay in that zone, that 68.26% zone. A big role, especially in the what I've seen in the northern side of India, a big role is played by the mothers, right? Although Bollywood, in terms of Bollywood movies and everything, mother is like gift of God or God himself, but or herself, right? This is one area where I personally observed, especially in the northern side, that they are playing a major role in not letting their people or not letting their kids take decision. I have been time and again in my LinkedIn profile, I have been approached by moms who want me to teach their kid actual exams, and the kids have not approached me. So I usually ask this question: why you are approaching me? If your kids is, I mean, they are 18, 19, 20, why can't they approach me? And the usual question is, no, I mean, they may not be able to make the decision, or they may not be able to negotiate the money, etc. So the thing is, I mean, they have to make those decisions, right? In the future, in future, you also want your kid to be independent, but you are not letting them to be independent. I think this is less relevant in the eastern part of India, like where I belong to in West Bengal, because the jobs are less, right? So at a one point of time, you have to move from that place to maybe to Mumbai, to Delhi, to Bangalore, where the jobs are, right? So, but the problem with Delhi or NCR is, here there are ample jobs. You can stay in your home, and that's why that decision making ability is never evolved. As I mentioned, like when I was 3 year old, my both my parents were working, so I was staying on my own. I used to hate my food. I used to light up the gas, and I could cook. I think some minor stuff when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. That's because they were working. It's not possible for them, right? So I developed my decision making skill immensely, as compared to someone whom I see from maybe north of India. they lack their decision making skill. They probably they will call me if I am their friend to evaluate those decisions on their behalf. And I think if some mom is watching this, I think you need to give that independence, especially after a particular age, maybe up to 18 years. uh, yeah, it's okay, but maybe after that, maybe start before 18, maybe from 15, 16, you need to trust your kid, and you need to give that independence so that that person can take decisions, especially financial decisions. Otherwise, that person will never have their own personality. They will always be dependent on you. They will never have their own thought process, right? And thought process in today's world is so common. We just copy paste others. We have so many people do not have any ideology. They just follow something else. They just believe in what majority does, and that's why they always lie in this 68.26% level. So I hope why we lack decision making power is one of the most important slide of this presentation, and that is clear now. Moving on. So what is required for proper decision making process, right? So there are a couple of elements that is required. First is experience. You need experience. As I mentioned, that you need to let your kid be independent. Let them take decisions from 15 years old, and at that point of time you can probably work with them to mitigate the risk in that decision if they have taken some wrong decision. But you need to give them space, and you need to probably may not you should not criticize their decision, because they are like, if they are taking a wrong decision, the people that would be affected most would be themselves, right? And that's why you need to probably ensure that they are not going in the wrong path, but they are also they taking their own decisions, right? And from there they will develop this experience, like, because I am taking decision about my life day in and day out since when I'm 3.5 years old. I have a very huge experience of several scenarios, analyzing scenarios, etc., etc. So decision making come very naturally to me. But for someone who has not done that, decision making will be very difficult. Also, sometimes it is very important to seek suggestion, like I mentioned, validation. Like I've been in Actuary for some time. I have some experience. I have taken interviews, so I know what is expected. So if you are having some doubt, it is very like, you can obviously ask me some question. Maybe ask some question in the YouTube comment section. I will reply, right? And I also, I might take this as a profession at a later point of time where I'll be doing this only. So I mean, I am also in improving myself on those areas. So sometimes you don't have experience, you might be passionate about something, but there will be other people who will have that experience, and those, and they might help you in taking those decisions. But you need to consider multiple scenarios before taking a decision. Suppose one of the very famous example that one of my friend gave me was coding, how to understand coding or how to learn coding. You need to know 10 scenarios. You need to remember 10 scenarios by heart, by after which you can code for the 11th one. If you don't remember the 10 scenarios, how can you code for the 11th one, right? It will be impossible. So life is also like that. You need to know the, like, what you need to do for 10 scenarios. Once you are clear on those 10 scenarios, once you have that experience, you always have the ability to make the decision to the for the 11th one, or adapt to the 11th one, right? Moving on. Another very important thing, which is, like, most people probably stop at the experience level only, because they will get someone, for example, someone from Actuary might approach me for some decision, and they will take the decision. But the most important thing probably would be self-awareness. So if you do not have that self-awareness, for example, someone asking, I'm a commerce student, should I do Actuary? There is no restriction for commerce student to do Actuary. The institute do not debar you, right? So that means the institute believes that you can do Actuary. Now you are thinking from the point of view that whether I will get job, whether mathematics student will be given preference. Those are all far-fetched things. You that is, and also that is not within your control, right? What you should decide is whether you are liking the syllabus of Actually, because if you are, then you will find a way, then you'll figure out a way. And obviously you are not the first person who is thinking like that, right? There might be a person who might be at a senior position in some place who have done commerce graduation, and that person will understand your viewpoint or thought process, right? So it doesn't matter, you are thinking way too far ahead, you are overthinking basically. There is no point in thinking like that. You need to understand what you like, what you enjoy, and you need to take that as profession, because until unless you do that, then there will be a point when things will be tough and you'll give up, right? So one thing that is very, very important is to have self-awareness, and self-awareness on itself is a big topic. I have made a video on self-awareness versus self-love. which is which is a very important video, I believe. I also use a lot of that in my trading journey, or trading, how I take intraday trades. That is extremely important. Self awareness, what type of trader you are, that depends on your personality, right? So that is very, very important. But if you understand more about yourself, and in fact, that's what we call aging or maturity. The more we know ourselves, the more mature we become. Like, we know that I don't like maybe salad, I like chicken only. So my diet has to be on chicken, right? There might be a person who is vegan, and that person would not like chicken, obviously, right? So then that person diet would be vegan only. So you have to know yourself, you have to know what interests you, what you dislike, and you have to take decision based on that, not based on monetary values, like whether this will be profitable or that will be loss making, because that is so far ahead in the future. It's impossible to decide that. And think on this reason, so who 10 years before would have thought there will be artificial intelligence, there will be driverless cars, but Elon Musk is building that, right? So he has thought of an impossible dream, and he has moved out from those 68.4% of that normal curve and moved into the 0.14%, right? So that's because he has believed in himself, right? He is aware of himself, of kind of making those decisions, and probably creating something which the world has not seen. Self awareness is very, very important. If you are not self aware, you are actually not eligible to make decisions, right? Then probably it is better someone else make your decision, because you are not eligible, then chances are you will be making wrong decision. Second most important thing, passion, right? I think there are many people, in fact, I don't have to go far. My In my own home, my like all of us are kind of, I was not good in study initially, but like me, my brother, they're good in studies. We are good in studies, but my brother's son, he's not that good in studies. He gets zero in maths sometime, sometime get 10 in English. So but he's very interested in Dhoni and Virat Kohli and cricket, right? So my brother has put him in cricket academy, and he's doing very well. So I think you need to understand, and also for the parents, you need to understand what your kid's passion is. It may not be what you believe to be the right thing, right? Someone might be interested in painting, right? One of my cousin is so interested in painting. She does all the shadis, mehendis, etc. Marriage festivals, etc. So I think you need to have a passion for something. You cannot judge it based on the monetary value, like whether it is whether it is beneficial, whether it's profitable, whether it's loss making. That's the absurd way and most wrong way of taking a decision. You need to have a passion for something. If you have passion for something, there will be difficulties, right? And you will overcome those difficulties. But if you are not passionate about something, you will just give up at a particular point of time, because any rational human being would do, right? Anyone who has done something big is has been very irrational, right? Because it has not been done in the past, right? For example, 15 years down the line, who would have thought that you would probably order grocery online, right? Or Amazon, who you can probably purchase books online, right? There that was, or who would have booked cabs online. It was never, like, it's an impossible concept. 15 years down the line, someone has thought on that zone, right? Someone is probably passionate enough to kind of continue with that dream, and that has helped so many people, right? So but 15 years before, this might be a rubbish idea. Many people might have told you that this is not going to happen. How many people have smartphone, right? That was the age of Nokia. So I mean, that there is no point in having that. But that was irrational, right? But today is extremely rational, right? So what is irrational today may not be irrational 10 years down the line. What is rational today may be completely irrational 10 years down the line. So you need to find your passion. Don't make decision based on profit and loss. That's the most stupidest way to make decisions. Finally, you need to have the ability to predict future, right? So why you should do Actuary? Because in future there is still scope, right? If something is kind of falling, as for example the Nokia example that I gave, someone joining Nokia 10 years back was seen to have good prospect, but maybe today it's not that good, right? Samsung has it in the market. There is LG, there is Sony, there are so many players, right? Even Sony has moved out of the laptop and desktop market, because Dell has kind of conquered that market, right? So you need to see the future and adapt based on that future, right? If you can't see the future, once again, that depends, that comes on experience, that comes with maturity, right? And also self awareness, but you have to see the future, right? One of the famous example, like is Dhoni's game reading skill. Like, he was able to see what is going to happen. He's still able to see what is going to happen, and he can approach the game in that manner. That's the reason that he has won so many trophies, right? It's not luck, it's his game reading skills, that he can, based on the past patterns, he can predict the future. That's exactly what artificial intelligence does, right? So you also have to be intelligent enough, right? You have to understand the pattern and then predict future and see that, okay, I know my strength and weakness. Based on my strength and weakness, I like this, I'm passionate about this, and this thing also have scope for the future, right? So I think, and I have also analyzed different scenarios. Like, I've taken feedback from everyone, experience people, etc. And based on that, I have think this is my decision, so I'll stick with this decision, right? So I think these are the four elements: experience, self-awareness, passion, and predicting future, right? These are the four elements that is required for making a decision. One of the most important thing, or maybe slightly funny also, that I've seen, some people say that it's my head is saying something, my heart is saying something else. Now, just to tell you that heart is just an organ which makes sound, and like the vibrations, it is like that dhak dhak sound. I just remember Madhuri Dixit by saying that. But heart is not something which is capable of making decision. It is just your brain which is making the decision, right? So when people say that I my heart is saying something, my head is saying something else, so both the things are said by head only. One decision you are sure, like one decision you are more true to, that is more intuitive to you. Other decision is probably looking on like beneficial to you on financial terms, right? So I always believe like that decision you can call that you are like the more intuitive decision. You might say that this decision is taken by heart, but it is obviously it's taken by brain only. So you have to kind of I always follow the decision which is in this log by this logic, which is taken by heart, right? But there is a caveat to that. I'll come to that. So heart is something, as I mentioned, this is only vibrating, right? There is no such thing as head versus heart. It is only head versus head. Something is more intuitive to you, and something is maybe financially beneficial for you, right? Something is which is not expected to give you more financial benefit, maybe in the short term, maybe in the long term it will, but maybe in the short term it will not give you financial benefit. But the other option that you have might give you some financial benefit. Moving on, right? How to take a decision. So once again, decide from heart or brain. I always follow that decision from heart, like by this whatever logic we say, although it is from brain only, right? However, when you are taking a decision, you have to plan for mitigating the risk, right? So, for example, you are thinking like, let me, I don't like my manager, right? Let me change job, and you go ahead and said, I am resigning from tomorrow, right? I am not going to work, but that will hurt you more, right? So you feel that you have to change your job, that's a good thing, right? You have to go ahead with that, but you have to mitigate the risk in taking that decision, right? How will you mitigate the risk? Once again, those four elements: experience, right? You have to understand what time of year you are in. Can you switch at this point of time, right? What is your experience level, what is your qualification, etc. Are you passionate about this? Do you want to change this job, or you want to change this entire industry, right? What are your strength and weakness? Maybe you are unnecessarily blaming your manager, maybe you are the one who is at fault, right? And finally, obviously, you have to kind of predict the future, like if you are doing taking this decision, what is the guarantee that in the next company that will go there is no such problem, right? How can you minimize that problem if that happens in the next company as well? So those are the things. So you have to plan, right? And you have to plan for mitigating the risk. So once you have a decision from heart, right, you have to follow that, but you have to delay it, or maybe push it back before by planning and by mitigating the risk. Risk has to be quantifiable, right? You cannot make an open-end statement. Risk has to be, risk are like goals, right? It has to be quantifiable. You need to quantify a risk. Like, maybe if I resign tomorrow, there is a chance that I'll not get a job in next say 90 days. But if I wait here for maybe next 6 months and then I switch, I'll get my bonus, and I'll also able to resign, and I'll also get a promotion. I'll probably switch at a higher package, right? So you have to quantify the risk. You have to analyze the scenarios. Once again, the experience comes into picture, right? Once again, you have to always think that are you moving from your long-term goal just because of some short-term disturbances, right? If someone said something to you, you are disturbed, someone insulted you, because of that disturbed nature, right? You are taking an decision from not so calm mind, and that's why moving away from your goal. You are just because of one person, your dream was to become an actuary, you are living actuary. That should not be the case, right? You have to take decision when you are calm, when you're composed. There is like Dhoni, right? One of my famous saying is be like Dhoni, not Ganguly. So you have to be calm, right? You cannot be on the Lord Stadium and just take out a t-shirt and swing it. That might look good, that might look aggressive, but that does not win you trophies, right? So you have to be calm when taking a decision. Finally, nothing is worth your mental peace, right? As I mentioned, like I know people who have got married and both of them are kind of irritated with each other, and finally when they separated, they I mean, that's good for both of them, right? So nothing is worth your mental peace. You cannot be in a relationship just because of societal pressure, right? So nothing is worth your mental peace. When your mental peace is getting hampered, you have to get out of it, but obviously, as I mentioned, you have to plan for mitigating the risk. Moving on, think about others who will be impacted. Once again in this example, if two persons are in a relationship, marriage, they separate, both the families will be affected. So it is very important to sit down both the families and maybe explain the situation, and maybe explain why it is important to move out. Think about others, right? Do not think about yourself only. That is what we call self love. If you only think about yourself, then you will become selfish, right? So you have to think about others as well. If you are leaving a job, what will your manager be impacted by? Maybe some critical job which you are handling, right? So then your relationship with that person will suffer, and that might come back to bite you, right? So you have to think about others while taking a decision, who would be impacted, like who would be the primary people. You cannot make everyone happy, right? But just saying that I'm thinking about you, just communicating that, that will also go a long way in maybe pacifying that person. Moving on, can you mitigate their risk, right? So can you mitigate their risk? Is there any way you can probably, for example, maybe you decide to stay 2 more months just before leaving your job, right? Your manager is also happy, you are also happy, also get some extra salary for that, right? And maybe in future, your relationship with your manager is kind of, was because of that decision, it stayed well, right? Moving on, adapt your plan to the changing environment. Obviously, there will nothing that will be ideal, right? I'll give an example of practical decision that I've taken in my life just after this slide. So there I have adopted my plan, right? I was thinking of something else, then I've changed, right? So that is very important. Your plan needs to be flexible. You need to be understanding about the changing environment, and you need to adapt to that, right? Moving on, take suggestion from everyone, follow none. As I mentioned, that most people will tell you not to do something because they have not done it themselves. So they believe that they will project themselves on you, and they will also believe that you will not be able to do that. But that's not true, right? You are yourself, and they are themselves. So you can take suggestion from everyone that will augment your experience element. But if you follow them blindly, that might come back to haunt you. Finally, once decided, don't go back on your decision, right? If you have decided to resign, resign. Don't wait for the, if you have thought about all the scenarios and you still think that tomorrow will be the best day to resign because your mental peace is that much disturbed, do that, right? Endure the pain, sit at home jobless, take a career break. But not, as I mentioned, nothing is worth your mental peace. Go ahead with the decision. Take time in taking a decision, but once you've taken a decision, just because someone else is saying something which is more logical, don't follow that. Just endure the pain, right? I mentioned before that most of the changes to this world, most of the people who have done big, right, they have taken irrational decisions and they have made those decisions rational, right? So don't go by logic. Logic is only relative, right? So moving on, so I'll just share a story from my life. So this is when I was like, I'll not name the company, but I think anyone can probably would be able to gauge. So let's just say the company that ABC and XYZ. The name of the company is ABC and XYZ Company Private Limited, maybe ABC and XYZ Private Limited. So there was a point of time when I was in when I switched into Actuary. So I had a feeling, or I have a thought process that core companies, in if you go into core company, your learning will be more, and which is a correct thing, right? Most of the KPOs do outsourced jobs, so that's why the learning would be less. You will be just running a software and getting the results. So I thought that I need to go to a proper core company so that my learning is better, right? And I appeared for a couple of interviews. I got three offers, out of which two was from core company, one was from KPO. The KPO salary was much higher, but the core was giving much lesser salary. But just because I wanted to gain the exposure of core, I went into that company, which we are calling ABC and XYZ Private Limited. Okay. So then when I entered into the company, I saw the culture is so different. I have already worked in core before, but that was not in actual profile. But for this company, the culture was so different. It was like mostly there were boys, and they used to talk about things which I like, which are very, what can I say, unparliamentary, right? I don't, in like my upbringing is not to engage in such discussion, right? And maybe like in short, what I can say, that they used to objectify women, and I can't do that, right? And they used to laugh over that, comment about dress of some people. I can't do that, right? So what I decided to do that is I'll just keep professional relationship. I'll not go have breakfast with them or lunch with them or evening snacks with them. And that came back to bite me again. I was questioned by my then manager that why you are not going for breakfast with all of us, or why you're not coming to lunch with all of us. And I could not tell this reason, right? I cannot say that, "Hey, you yourself is discussing such nonsense things, how can I go with go and discuss those things," right? Those are beyond me. So I just thought that I am not happy. And I used to have a friend, maybe I'll also call that person once in my channel. So his name was Parvinder. I told him after 15 days of joining that company that one thing that is good about this company is, obviously there is a lot of learnings, but I don't see myself staying in this company for a long time. So within 5 to 6 months, I'll resign from this company. I know it will be difficult because I'll be asked questions, right? But I'll I'll leave, right? So then he told me, but there is a reason for which you have changed into this company in spite of low salary, right? So have you, are those reasons fulfilled? So I thought that, yeah, it was a valid question. Those reasons are not fulfilled, right? I cannot just resign next day. So I decided that, well, and I joined this company on Jan. And from Jan to June, that is the time period when all the reporting happens in core company. That's a tremendous learning phase, right? So what I decided to do that every day I'll go to office. Maybe I skipped few of the Sundays, but every day I used to reach office. Maybe sometime I'll reach office at 7, sometime I'll reach office at 7:15, right? And I used to stay late so that get to see the entire reporting, right? No matter how much harsh the environment was, no matter how much harsh the people were there, but I decided to stay there. I decided to kind of take those insult, and decided to understand. And slowly I those I also kept on learning things. Slowly those insult also went down. So that also helped, because you are also trying to learn. But yeah, I decided that I will those are my long term vision was to gain knowledge, right? I have to stay there and at least see one reporting cycle, so that my initial long term vision would be fulfilled. That has helped me tremendously. Like when I moved from that company to any other company, that has helped me tremendously, that my knowledge level has grown exponentially. In fact, in one of the interviews that I appeared for after coming from that company, one of the person told that I'm amazed by your knowledge level. The reason was because my knowledge level has moved from level maybe 4 to level 40. That's because I worked that hard. I used to go there every day at 7 a.m. and try to, even on the weekends I used to go there, because, and I was not studying for papers at that point of time. I was thinking of internalizing all the concepts that is there, right? So what I can understand, what I cannot understand, if there is someone with whom I can ask those questions, right? So I did my best. And after 4 or 5 months, I understood that the people who are there, I am getting to their level, right? It's just a matter of time. I'll probably surpass those people, and I'm getting to their level. So right now is the proper time to switch or change job, because this is, I have learned a lot, but the way I've learned, I don't want to repeat that in my life, right? Because the culture is not that great, right? And that does not mean that, maybe if you are gauging what company I'm talking about, that does not mean that company is still bad, right? It's at that point of time, at that particular phase, right? Don't, as I mentioned, like, don't uh, have my experience kind of make you biased towards some company, right? It's like, it's particular point of time, particular point, particular people, and some, I mean, there would be many people there who has continued with that company, right? It might be something, some problem with me as well, right? So you have to understand, you cannot be biased based on one story, right? I am just telling my story so that I can explain this decision making process. Okay. So moving on. So when I appeared for interviews, people used to ask me this question, like, why are you leaving the company in 5 months? And I used to, tell them the honest answer, right? Because you have learned in college, school, that honesty is the best policy. But when you move into corporate, that's not the case, right? Most of the people, like, if my interview was for 30 minutes, around 25 minutes would be spent on saying that you are leaving in 5 months. Same thing can happen here as well. You are saying the culture is not good. What guarantees, what is the guarantee that the culture will be good here? So you might leave here also in 5 months, right? So what is the, like, you have to adopt, you have attitude issues, etc., etc. Most of the interview was not focused on what skill set I have, but most of it was based on their biased viewpoint, that if some person is leaving in 5 months, then that something is wrong with the person, not with the company. That's usually how Indians think, especially in the insurance sector, right? Because they know their culture is bad, so they are not going to improve that. So they understand that, yeah, some person who is already saying that would not be able to adapt to my bad culture, right? So when I saw that as a difficulty, I understood that I cannot be honest, right? I have to mold my answer. Now, then what I started saying intelligently, so that people have to give me chance to explain my skill set, right? Otherwise, if they are stuck for 25 minutes on a single question, then I'll not be able to explain my skill set to them. So what I did, I said that there are, so as I mentioned, the name of the company is ABC and XYZ. So I used to tell them that, you must be knowing that ABC and XYZ are splitting, because you are in the industry for such a long time. I think you are aware of this, right? ABC and XYZ is splitting, so they are firing people left, right, and center. So I just joined the company, but I didn't was not aware of that, and that's why, I don't want to get fired, so I'm taking productive steps. And most of the people, there was never any, discussion in the industry about ABC XYZ being splitting. But whenever I said, like, you must be knowing that ABC and XYZ are splitting, they were like, yeah, I know, ABC and XYZ are splitting, right? So what it did for me is, instead of they kind of maybe projecting their biased viewpoint of me having some attitude issue, they moved on to my skill set in maybe for the next 25 minutes. Instead of spending those 25 minutes in justifying that they are correct and I'm wrong, they moved into my skill set, right? They asked me questions for which I'm supposed to answer, right? And when I got to those questions, when I left this company, actually, I got four offers, right? Sun Life was one of the offer, but before that also I got four offers, and I I also negotiated the offer, which is something that I probably won't suggest, but because that is slightly risky. But I put down my paper initially when I got my first job, but then I used that package to get another job, and used that package to get another job, and finally when I like hit the Sun Life level, I understood that this is a good company, right? This, based on my experience, etc., based on because that was a new team setup. So here I can build the culture, right? I probably can influence the culture. So I think what I should do is to join this company, but the salary they are paying is bit less, right? So can I increase that? And then I used my previous three offers to tell them that, see, I already have these three offers. I need a increment in my designation and also in my salary. And eventually that's how I joined. But this is a very risky process. You might also be seeing someone who is more money hungry, right? And you might be turned down as well. And the company is right in doing so. So that's a risk that you are taking. But in my case, because I already have three offers, I could have done that, right? So I think that's how to take a decision. I joined a company. My initial thought process was I learned a lot. Then I realized that this is not the culture that I want to grow with, right? But then my long-term vision comes into picture, which meant that I have to do the things that I am here for, right? So that's why I planned. I went there early, right? And then when I faced difficulty in switching because of why I'm switching so early, right? Then I adapted to the situation. I changed my answer, and finally, I also whatever knowledge I've gained to show that those are pure knowledge, true knowledge, right? That is also one of the reasons that I have this YouTube channel open right now because of that knowledge that I've gained there, right? So I also got those offers to prove that I have gone gained sufficient knowledge, and I have used those offers to kind of get to a good salary and good designation, right? So that's exactly how I think you should take a decision. You should plan, you should execute your plan, you should adapt to different changing environment, right? You should analyze the scenarios, but once you take a decision, stick with it. Obviously, you need to take time to take the decisions. You need to mitigate the risk. You need to plan well. But once you have taken a decision, stick with it, right? I hope. I think this video has gone a bit longer, right? But yeah, I think this is a very important video. If someone has not skipped the video and watched till the end, I think probably you have learned something today. Thanks for watching this video. Please hit the like button if you are seeing this video, and if you are enjoying the content of this channel. If you are new to this channel and watching this video for the first time, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching. See you in future videos.